everyone, and welcome to this session where we are going to be discussing the importance of ethical design principles in people analytics. My name is Miikka Åkerman, and I'm working as an enterprise architect here at Workday. I'm based in Helsinki, Finland, and besides looking into the architectural aspects, I have also a very high personal interest in analytics and especially in development of artificial intelligence and machine learning, and how to leverage those technologies in improving our organizations and also the world around us. And I'm joined here today by my colleague Jouni Alakoski. So over to you, Jouni.
Thank you, Miikka. So hello everyone, my name is Jouni Alakoski. I'm solution consultant here at the Workday. I'm based in Helsinki, Finland, and focusing on our analytics offering. I have been working for a long time around the analytics. I have been working as a data analyst and a consultant, and now in the pre-sales. I'm in the same team as Miikka's colleague in my Nordic pre-sales team.
All right, thanks, Jouni. So let's take a look on the themes, what we are going to be covering today. So we're going to be starting off by discussing a bit about the speed of change in the world today. We're going to be kind of addressing that by discussing how can you run a high metabolic organization. What that actually means, we're going to be coming back to that shortly. So hold on to that thought. After that, we're going to be discussing about the general development principles in AI or machine learning driven business solutions. How can you know what you don't know? So we're going to be just covering a generic example of how these AI and machine learning solutions are usually developed. And after we have covered the development principles, then we are going to be conversing a bit that how can we respond to that change around us? What type of a development path can we choose in our organization? What are the pros and cons of these different paths, and how different kind of approaches and paths can lead to the same conclusion and success. And from that, we will then move on to discussing the actual ethical design principles. Why is it so important that we pay attention to these ethical design principles when we are designing these applications that utilize these powerful technologies of artificial intelligence and machine learning? And then we will just end and recap things in a brief summary. So welcome to this 30 minutes with us, and let's go on and start by discussing what we actually mean by organization that has a high metabolic rate. So the statement here is that success today demands operating at a higher metabolic rate. So okay, what metabolism is, it's how your body is absorbing energy and kind of enabling you to run or perform different activities. And we can also kind of translate this thinking into our organizations. So organizations can be thought as living systems, living organisms that also continuously need to change and adapt. And basically, whereas food is our fuel, data is the fuel for these organizations. So how can we kind of get the most energy and the most momentum out of the data that we generate daily in our organizations? How can we leverage that in becoming a better, more efficient organization? So this is also, of course, something that we can utilize machines in. So we already possess the knowledge in most organizations to leverage this data to some degree, but there are always bottlenecks in how to leverage the data. And now we are on the verge of having the machines doing the heavy lifting for us. The machines are surfacing these insights from the data that we produce and possess in our organizations. And therefore, we can greatly enhance and speed up the cycle of development. So we are able to automatically scan through vast amounts of data, bring forward insights that would be impossible for humans to see, and therefore speed up the cycle of development and course correct our actions at a much faster pace. But in order to understand how this process actually works, I will now hand over to Jouni, who will explain the general principles of artificial intelligence and more importantly, machine learning solutions. How can we develop those solutions? So over to you, Jouni, and please share your thoughts about the development process.
Well, thank you, Miikka. So as Miikka mentioned, I will be talking about the machine learning and especially how the machine learning applications, solutions, and models are developed and further refined over time. I will be first starting by describing the machine learning through a consumer application, like a mapping and navigation application that we are all familiar with. And then I will reflect that to the business solutions. So if we start with the simple approach, what the machine learning means and how we develop those models. So it always starts with the learning data. So in those mapping applications, it means digitalized maps, which are then fed into algorithms to get out the model. So the learning data is used to train those algorithms, get out the model, and that model is then something that we can use later. And if we think about this in the perspective of the terms of the machine learning, the algorithms are the part of the machine, and the learning data is the learning. Now this model can then be used with live data to generate predictions. And this live data, if we take the example of the mapping applications, that can be the destination that we are going. So for example, we are going from home to work or from home to grocery stores. And then it can be the live data can be, for example, the traffic information that is fed into that model to get the prediction. And the prediction is the navigation. That's the route that is recommended to us, the optimal route based on the live data and based on that model. And if you think about this is a simple explanation how it works. So it starts with the learning data. Algorithms are applied to generate the model. And then once we have the model, live data is pushed into the model, get out the prediction. Now, one key element in this picture is missing. So it's the outcome. And when we do that navigation, let's say that we go to work and we provide the application, or the application is collecting information of us. So what route we took, how long it took, how much there was a traffic on that route. And that outcome can be then used back into the learning data to generate better models, that way better predictions, and that way we get a better user experience. So I prefer always use the Google Maps. I've been using that for a long time because I think it gives a really good routes on what comes to when in Finland. And those predictions, it's based on the volume. So they have the critical mass to have that outcome data that they can generate better models and that way better predictions. And that's why we get the better user experience. And this is what we call as a network effect. So it's a kind of a cycle around. So outcome used as learning data, build the better models, and with those models, get the better predictions, and then again, more outcome. So it's about having the critical mass of the data to be able to create best possible solutions. And of course, it's based also on the fact that we are all users are using the same application. We are storing similar kind of data when it comes to the structure in that application. And that data is measurable and it's consistent, and that way it can be used as a. Now, if we reflect that to the business solution, and if I think about, for example, Workday, how we approach. So first of all, Workday is a cloud application. So all our customers are using the same version of the application. They are using the same data structures, or the data is in the same structure, and it's about the unified data core. So it's something that we are in a similar position as those consumer applications. And with that outcome, we can generate great models, machine learning models into our platform. And how we do it, of course, our customers own their data. So we cannot use that unless they are willing to share the data with us, that we can then use and build those models on top of that. And actually, if I look at our customer population, 62% of our customers are willing to share their outcome data. So we have that critical mass of the data that we can then build those applications on. And key here is also that because we have the critical mass, we can build what we call as a package solution. So we can provide pre-built solutions to our customers, and our customers can then take benefit of those innovations. And that is the reason also why our customers are so willing to give the data to us, that we can build better user experience. So with that outcome data, we can build better models again and better predictions, and our users, our customers get better user experience. And if I say a few of those applications that we have, so for example, our skills graph, or the skills cloud as it's called in the market, and then of course our people analytics application is based on the same approach. So it's all about having the critical mass, overcome the structural barriers, because for example, in Workday, we have the single data structure, unified data core on all our customer tenants. So the data is consistent, and in a similar way as in the consumer application, we can use that to build great user experience and great machine learning application. So Miikka, what do you think about this?
So that sounds great. That was a great explanation and description on how machine learning is developed, how the machine learning development process is set up overall. And like you were saying, you were telling us a bit how we do things at Workday. So we like to package the machine learning and the artificial intelligence into our solution and offer it as part of our platform. But that's not, of course, the only way. And let's just very briefly explore what type of different paths there might be to successful implementation of machine learning and artificial intelligence. So on this slide here, we can see on the left-hand side, we can see this so-called do-it-yourself world, and some common characteristics with that development path. So when you are starting to develop your very own solutions, then that of course means that you have total artistic freedom to do whatever you want. You're able to create any type of spot solutions for specific industry niches or very specific purposes or organizations. So and there is definitely a place for those as well. And but of course, when we think about that, there is a huge freedom of choice on what to do, what type of technologies to use, how to pull the data for those kind of solutions and so on. But there is also a cost to that freedom, and that cost is unpredictability, because new technologies are emerging all the time. The world is changing around us, and of course, keeping up with that change and making sure that we are utilizing the best possible technologies and tools to develop these new solutions, and not to mention that somebody has to take care of that the data that we are basing these solutions on is up to date and stored in a way that allows these new technologies to run on it. There needs to be performance, the data needs to be structured and normalized, and the data quality needs to be top-notch. So it needs to be harmonized environment where we operate. Otherwise, we don't get good results out of anything. So there is a certain level of unpredictability that goes with the do-it-yourself approach. And most importantly, you need to secure proper resources to do that. And these resources in today's market, they are scarce. So it's not easy to find people who are kind of on top of their game and really knowing what they do when they are developing these solutions. And it usually takes a larger team to work on these, because somebody needs to take care of the data quality, somebody needs to be able to build the algorithms, somebody needs to understand the business requirement, how do we train the model, and so on and so on. So it's quite a bit of an investment, and there are a lot of unknowns along the way. So if we compare that to the right side of the slide, to these packaged solutions, which we at Workday basically represent. So in the packaged solution approach, of course, the freedom of choice and freedom of kind of different options, how we can develop these applications is restricted. So on this side, we are basing our development on communal aspects. So we are working very closely with our customers, listening to our customers, and sitting down with our customers to understand which disciplines of artificial intelligence are the ones that are generating most value for the most of our customers. So basically, we are servicing the masses with these solutions that we embed into our service and onto our platform. And of course, the upside of this is that the costs are very predictable, and you are able to outsource all of this to the service provider. So you don't have to hire indoor artificial intelligence experts, data experts, and so on, because all of that is taken care of by the service provider. And yeah, but these are the two extremes. So we have the packaged solution world and then the do-it-yourself solution world. And as always, the truth probably lies somewhere in the middle. So I would say that a hybrid model approach is usually required in many industries. So we can service up to 80 or 90% with the packaged solution, with those services and kind of applications that are meant for the masses. But then there are those industry-specific things, country-specific things, where we need to have this do-it-yourself mentality and do these spot solutions. And I think that in this case, it is where the evaluation should be placed is that if the packaged solution provider is kind of willing to open their platform for kind of embedding and reaching out to these external solutions. And this is indeed something that we are doing at Workday, and this is our philosophy, that we are very open, and we can attach these do-it-yourself kind of applications also into our processes via our business process framework, and we also allow the ingestion of external data onto our platform, and therefore it can be used as part of our artificial intelligence applications. But Jouni, do you have any thoughts or things to add here?
Yeah, a couple of that was a good addition there. So yeah, definitely we as Workday, we deliver a package solution, but you have also the ability that our customers own their own data. So if they want to apply their own do-it-yourself models on it, that's possible as well. The other thing that I wanted to highlight was this scarce resources that you mentioned. So what we see in the market when we talk with different organizations, there's quite a challenge to find those resources. It's just pretty hard to find the analytical talent in that way, and that's what the augmented analytics of course helps. So our people analytics solution. So it helps with the resourcing, because it's the machines are harnessing the machines to help in that analysis work. It helps in the prioritization, so what to focus on. So organizations have big data masses, and it's sometimes difficult to decide where to start. So that's where the augmented analytics helps as well. And then of course the data literacy. Some organizations are more data savvy than the others, and in some organizations there are data savvy people and not that data savvy people. So of course the augmented analytics that we have is helping in that, because it's telling the stories in a narratives written in everyday language.
Yes, indeed. But now it's time to finally arrive to the heart of our kind of topic today, and that is, why is the ethical design then so important? So what we have now established is that there's the speed of change in the world around us, in our organizations. It's getting faster and faster all the time. The machines, they provide us with the means to meet that requirement. So we are able to speed the change of development, and we are able to automatically surface different insights from the data, and automatically even make decisions and act upon that data. So we have the capability, technical capability to keep up with that change and make it even faster, if you will. But then we shouldn't never forget the human in the middle. And that's why it's so important to have certain design principles in place before we just go with the flow and trust the technology blindly. There is a great example from one great author of our time, Yuval Noah Harari. In his book, he was kind of playing around with this thought experiment that when the self-driving cars arrive, we need to kind of create the rules of the road, so to speak, for them. And he was playing around with the idea that is it the government who regulates how the car will behave in different situations? Will it always save the driver or the passengers, or will it always save the pedestrians or any other person out there in the traffic? And then he played around with the idea that if the government doesn't do it, then the corporations will. And what the corporations might do is that they might come out with two different versions of that car. The egoist version, where the car always saves the driver, or then the altruist version, where the car always saves everybody else. And this is the developer's dilemma, actually, in people analytics as well. We have regulations in place, we have legislation in place, and we have the technology that allows us to keep up with this pace of change and even accelerate. But it is like that the legislation, it's a bit late, it's tracking behind, and the regulations as well. And then the technology just keeps on evolving no matter what we do. So we have this kind of there is a backlog in our legislation and regulations, but we have technological enablers that enable us to do great things and puts great power into our hands. But then it's actually up to us, it's up to you, it's up to all the organizations and companies to decide how do we leverage the data and the technology that has been put into our hands. So we need to, if we take a look at the left-hand side of the picture, we need to preserve the digital rights of people. We need to always understand that they are not numbers, they are not boxes in our organizational structure. There are real human beings that we are dealing with and lives that we are dealing with. So we actually, if we let those algorithms decide who gets promoted, how our organization will be changed, and what type of action should we take if we face certain disruptions in the market. If we let the algorithms decide that, we need to make sure that those algorithms and the models that they govern, or the models that govern those algorithms, they are designed by using ethical principles, and they preserve these digital rights, and they are actually fighting against the digital bias, so that we don't get that contorted or distorted kind of thinking in our organization, because that might lead us into results and into an organization and culture which we really don't want to promote. So ethical design is controlling that power, that what has been put into our hands. Like said, with great power comes great responsibility, and that responsibility at the moment is placed in all of our hands. And we at Workday, we feel especially humble before this topic, and we take this extremely seriously because we act as a gatekeeper in a sense in this situation, and we need to make sure that at least in our solutions, ethical design principles and digital rights are taken care of all the time, everywhere. So it's time to sum up what we have been discussing today. So first of all, we established that the speed of change is increasing. It's increasing all around us, in the world and also in our organizations. And in order to adapt to that change, we need to become high metabolic organizations. which are able to ingest the food, which is the data, and then produce that food and data in a highly effective rate, and then push out decisions and actions based on that. And in order to keep up with that change, and in order to become that high metabolic organization, we have technology to help us.
Yeah, so the technology and artificial intelligence data is you cannot be a high metabolic organization without those, and that's how it is. It's possible today. So you can know what you don't know, and those package solutions are possible. So, for example, I gave an example of Workday. We have the critical mass, that 62% of our customers who are willing to share their outcomes, that we can develop better solutions for them.
Indeed. And then lastly, we always need to take care that we don't forget the human in the middle. Like said, with great power becomes great responsibility. And that responsibility, we can't trust that the regulators and the legislators will take that responsibility. As said, the world is moving so fast and changing so fastly that the legislation and regulations are tracking behind. So the responsibility is actually on us. It's on all the businesses, all the corporations and organizations to make sure that ethical rules are put in place when we are utilizing these new powerful technologies. And we at Workday take this especially seriously because we see ourselves as gatekeepers, because we are providing people analytics and HCM related services to thousands of our customers, for millions of people working on those customers, at those customers. So yes, we take our responsibility very seriously. But with those words, thank you for joining in. And just to promote, next week, Jouni and I, joined by our colleague Ville Virtanen from our value management function, will be hosting a conversational workshop discussing these topics and much more. So please, if you are invited to that and you have possibility to join, please do join, and let's have a great discussion. But for now, thank you on my behalf. And
thank you.
And hopefully see you again, and stay safe.